Hey, hello everyone. I'm Lauren Hubele, and I'm back with Jyoti Wind, my favorite astrologer.
Thank
Jyoti,
you.
you've got a larger overview in air quotes for us today. I feel like I should give you a drum roll.
Uh, well, we'll see.
Where
You
do we
know,
start?
we start in the day to day.
Okay.
Mars is going direct, and Mercury's getting ready to go retrograde, and we're all involved in our small little cycles of day to day life, and
Right.
how am I going to get this going, and what's next, and I can't help but be drawn to the fact that we're ending a whole huge 26,000 year cycle, and they call it, the last 2,150 years they call the Piscean Age, and that is winding down, and we're on the cusp of the difference between the Pisces age winding down and the Aquarian age coming in. And people can look up the precession of the equinoxes online if they want a more astronomical, scientific point of view. I don't have a science mind per se, so I can only explain this in more symbolic terms than maybe scientific terms. But if you look back, we have these ages behind us,
Mhm.
these roughly 2,150 year ages. Like there was the age where the ram's horn was the symbol of an age, and that was a very warrior culture. And Alexander the Great, and conquering kinds of things, very Aries type energy.
Mhm.
And then we also had the Crete time, the Minotaur, the symbol of the bull's horn,
Sure.
and the Minotaur, and that was the Taurus age, and the bull is the symbol of Taurus. And so we've had different ages, and I was just reading about oh, I forgot it already. When we were in the mammoth time frame, that was the beginning of an age as well. So here we are, and I have always felt like a cusp time between the ages is about 300 years, 150 to 300 years. Like when you have somebody who's born on the cusp between Aquarius and Pisces. So if they're a couple days before Aquarius ends and Pisces begins, or a couple days into Pisces, they're cusp people. They have qualities of both.
Mhm.
Okay. And so I feel like we're in that, on that cusp of Pisces age moving into the Aquarian age, and that the golden age of Aquarius will come about in about 150 to 300 years. And I have always felt it was about 150 to 200. And I listened to this astrologer the other day, and he was talking about, he thinks it's about 120 years,
Okay.
give or take 30 or 40 or 50 years,
Right, but not in any of our lifetime.
Not in any of our lifetimes, but we are in the processing
Mhm.
of this change, of
Yeah.
this huge change. And so, the signs go from Aries to Pisces. And so finishing up this Piscean dispensation
Mhm.
of, the fish and Jesus as the Christ figure, as the avatar for that time frame, this time frame finishing up. It's like we've completed a huge 26,000 year time frame, not completed, but are completing.
Mhm.
And so we sit, with our issues and problems, and that's the human condition. But on a different scale, we are looking at a huge evolutionary shift for humanity, for the human race.
So, Jyoti, I want to just backtrack a minute to make sure
Sure.
I'm understanding it. So, over the last 26,000 years, give or take, we've gone through these smaller ages that are 2,150 years long, and
Yes.
they've taken us through the whole astrological wheel.
Yes.
And here we are now finishing up with Pisces.
Yes.
Aquarius is about
Yes.
100
Yes.
plus years in the future, but because of the vastness of these periods, we're going to feel things much sooner. It's not like it changes instantly on
No.
the dot, right?
Right.
And so I what I think I hear you saying, we're already ushering in this new age in many ways.
Yes, absolutely. And it's been labeled like the golden age of Greece. It's been labeled the golden age of Aquarius.
Mhm.
And so, if you look around, you can see we are not living in a golden age. It's pretty dire in some ways and pretty changeable and kind of not really clear where
Right.
we're heading and what it's going to look like. However, all the prophecies of all those beings who have guided us in some ways, some of us, maybe not everybody, looks at that, but like Edgar Casey or Nostradamus, or some of the more famous prophets or seers, or people who are looking at the larger streams of energy that are moving through us, and how as a globe, Earth is shifting. I mean, this is a science that they're talking about now, that the Earth is starting to shift toward a new pole star. So that's what it was. During the Mammoth Age, our pole star was Vega, I remembered. And then it went to another one. And so now we're moving away from Polaris as our North Star, because the Earth is shifting and its pole star is, I don't know what the new one is, where it's going to be focused, how that's going to occur, or how long that's going to take. But we are starting to shift more toward a new pole star, which is indicative of the end of one age and the beginning of another.
Because our North Star is always where we're headed.
It's where we're headed, and the Earth is not round. It's kind of got little bulges here and there because of the magnetic poles, pull of the sun and other planets, and so it has a wobble. And in that wobble, we kind of wobble over this way, and so very unscientifically said, by
Yep.
the way. But we're on the edge, we're on the verge of this huge evolutionary shift.
And so, Jyoti, from your perspective, what's the relevance of that right now in our everyday life?
Well, we've talked about, briefly, we've talked about the fact that, like, Neptune is entering Aries the last day of this month. It hasn't been there for 800 years. That's a big chunk of time.
Yeah.
The major planets, including Neptune, are all moving into fire and air. They've been in earth and water for years and years and years and years. And so things in the day to day are starting to herald change. Starting like Pluto going into Aquarius. Some people are going, oh, it's the Aquarian age. It's like, no, but we're getting a taste of something, because the Aquarian age will also bring an uptick in science and community and individuality, especially, and how to combine individuality with community. Because usually it's either or, tribal or individual.
Okay.
So Pluto has been giving us a taste of that, and will for the next like 19 years. But with Pluto moving into Aquarius, Neptune into Aries, Uranus moving into Gemini, this is all bringing us into a more mental, intellectual, not head over heart, but definitely we're more cognizing, more conscious, more opportunities for consciousness in what we do.
Okay.
And so how that larger scale, I mean, we're moving, but it's like all of a sudden, it's almost like we can see it.
Mhm.
We can begin to see it.
And we can see it because of these outer planets that are making these shifts. So we're getting it in different flavors as it comes
Yes.
in.
Yes. And also this large cycle of evolution coming to closure and a new 26,000 year cycle beginning.
Can you talk a little bit about Neptune going into Aries, since none of us will live to ever see that happen again or remember it from the past?
Oh, right, right. Um, Neptune is going to be with Saturn, and that makes the difference. Neptune and Saturn will both be 1 degree of Aries, 0, and then 1 degree of Aries this spring. And so each planet will retrograde back and then come through in 2026 and stay and bring the influence more solidly forward. But it's having us look at innovation, like pioneering new fields of study, of perception, of risk taking, and wanting to step out of the old water, earth, mud pie making kind of just going along with what's happening, and really giving us pause to look at what's opening up in front of us. I mean, Saturn in Aries, granted, that's only for 2 years, the first 2 years of when it enters Aries. And Saturn in Aries to me is like driving with the brakes on.
Mhm.
It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But Neptune on a larger, grander scale is having us look at what inspires us. What really brings the energy, inspire comes from inspiritu, and it means to bring the spirit into. So, what is the spirit that we are bringing in personally, inviting in personally, bringing in by our own lives and examples and our breath and our thinking and our sense of what we'd like to see happen as an overview? How are we more conscious of doing that?
Mhm. So that's not the first time you've brought that up, this change in consciousness and more awareness. Can you share a little bit more about that?
I think that with the fire and air qualities of the signs that the outer planets are moving into over this year and next year, especially, humanity is more open, generally speaking, to different kinds of ideas and concepts and how they communicate what they are. A larger view or connection and meeting of science and spirituality, astronomy with astrology, kind of like where that split happened so
Mhm.
many centuries ago, kind of moving those things closer and closer so that there's, a kind of like like tentacles reaching out from
Mhm.
each side to bring them closer together as what they had been as one body of thought, one body of
Right.
understanding.
So that a coming back together of those worlds then.
Yes, of some kind, in
Yeah.
some way.
Yeah, it might
Um,
look different.
yeah, oh, absolutely. And looking different also from what's been transpiring for the past, let's say, 2,000 years.
Yeah. So Jyoti, what you're speaking about today isn't something we can necessarily pick up on in the day to day, but only when we can really step back and look at larger trends of
And
communication.
the personal invitations, I
Mm,
think, to step forward within yourself and leave behind the ways of the age that's passing. You know, Pisces sometimes gets a bad rap. It's the last sign, you know. It's very much go with the flow. It's very sensitive, very caring, very compassionate, but it also has blind faith sometimes. And sometimes it's good to open your eyes and open your awareness and your consciousness and want to see where you're going, want to see what's next, you know, and thereby with that desire, being able to pull it, being able to magnetize it so that you are moving more and more, moving closer to an ideal.
Mm, mm. Yeah. So as we feel ourselves open up to things we might not have considered before or ways of doing that, that's affirming for each of us individually that this change is taking place.
That is taking place. It's the beginnings of a different step in evolution. You know, it's leaving behind the attitudes and beliefs of family of origin, family before your family of origin, your lineage. Not that everything has to go, but just the things that are limiting. You know, just the things that are limiting, but were all that those people could do, was only what they had access to at that point in time. And so we've moved beyond that, and we're moving beyond now soon. And so I think there will be larger images or larger understandings of where we're going and why things are the way they are right now.
So, which is would be really helpful to a lot of us, right? As we're watching, but we're watching on that real micro scale, right?
Yes,
On
yes,
just day to day, week to week, what's happening. And
yes.
I think what I'm hearing you say is inviting us to come back to, hey, on the bigger scale and the bigger picture, we're going to be okay.
We're going to be okay, and we are in a huge, momentous moment, a huge time frame shift in our evolution. And that's what really started to catch my attention, because I look at the day to day, I look at the months ahead, I look at certain, you know, larger cycles, planets being in a sign for, you know, 7 to 19 years, whatever. And I've always felt that we're on this cusp into this age of which none of us will see in these bodies and probably not in this consciousness. But we're the seed planters to ensure that it will happen in whatever way it shows up. And all of a sudden, it just struck me that this large overview of that we've been living in some body, in some consciousness, in some form over the past 26,000 years is winding down.
Mm.
So to me, that 26,000 year time frame, I mean, it's beyond day-to-day human conception.
Sure, sure. No, I had to write it down when you said that. 26,000. Yeah.
That's huge. I mean, that includes all the ages before us, all the Greek, all the Egyptian, all the Cretan, and the past 2,000 years of the Pisces kind of Christian dispensation. And it's I I'm trying to figure out the language to say this. Where we've been has helped us get to where we are, but it doesn't necessarily mean that where we've been is going to continue in itself. It will be different.
Yeah.
We are changing. The Earth is changing. She's shifting on her axis. You know, she's shifting her pole star to in a different direction, meaning that she's now open to different flows of energy, different streams of
Mm,
energy in her own way, and from the galaxy, from the larger galaxies and universe. And so she also is completing this 26,000 year age and turning her attention and her energy to a different focal point.
mm, mm. Yeah, I suddenly got the image of like the labor pains we experience before birth, right?
Yes,
And that you have to go through that to get to the birth, and that I don't know if it feels on that same level, but I think for a lot of folks that it does right now. It's that squeeze we're feeling, that
yes,
that pressure of, and that this can't keep going on like this, right?
right,
Which is exactly what you feel like when you're experiencing labor.
right. These are like cosmic contractions.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great term.
yeah. And it's the whole globe of the earth, and it's the whole mass of the race of humanity
Yeah.
that are being squeezed in this
Mhm.
process and being redirected.
What else, Jyoti?
Um, I think that's pretty much it. I just wanted to note and give credence to and just give a nod to what else is going on
Sure.
besides what we're looking at
Yeah.
usually every couple weeks, you
Right.
know, that we really are in this place of massive, massive change in consciousness and awareness, in evolution. And so people who are really sensitive to larger movements of energy sometimes feel confused by the things that take up day-to-day awareness and consciousness. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
and so because they're aware of these larger pictures of possibility that are happening that most people don't really know or think about or believe.
Yeah.
And so people who are really sensitive are going through their own level of this now, right now, in order that we all move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what you do so well in all of your talks, Jyoti, is help those that are feeling that way recognize they're not alone. And
Oh, no.
right, there are many, and it's all part of the plan.
Yes, yes. And we're moving in mass. In mass, the whole race of humanity is moving, you know. Some willingly, some not,
Yeah.
I'm sure. You know, we all have our own individual take on things. However, I think that the that we're all here out of consensus, you know, and that the human race is willing to move into this next time frame. I mean, it's still, you know, a while down the road, but we're in the beginning of the labor. You
Hmm.
know, maybe our water just broke. Maybe the great mother, you know, the earth, maybe her water just broke, you
Yeah.
know, and so we're beginning this process of a couple hundred years of labor, in a sense, in order to birth a golden age.
Yeah. Jyoti, thank you.
You're welcome, Lauren, and thank you.